It's not a drill. This is not a drill. Shannon, Creepshow Art, has posted a video. I repeat, Creepshow Art has posted a video.
It feels different whenever you're watching a video where someone is actively not confident in what they're saying, which is what Creepshow was, versus Emily just giving fact, 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 fact.
Still believe Emily. I really don't feel like Shannon cleared her name at all. I don't feel like she made herself look better through this video.
This video accomplishes none of those things. She says it's to prove that she didn't do the things that she was accused of. It does not do that.
You're admitting by omission, I would say. Someone tweeted me that she blocked the word locale from her comments, so she doesn't want that being mentioned.
They'll say a statement and they'll put like 10 screenshots on the screen for like 10 seconds that are huge text. People aren't going to stop and read them. They're going to assume that what she's saying, all these 10 screenshots are, in relation to that, whenever they're not in the slightest. And Shannon did this throughout her entire video.
Basically, the gist of this entire video is that Shannon tries to disprove what Emily said about Anthony and Shannon stalking her by stalking Emily, by going really, really deep into her history on the internet.
If anything, it proves that the stalking actually happened.
In conclusion, I still believe Emily. I just don't think that this video clears Shannon's name.
So Creepshow Art decided to come back on New Year's Eve with a 2.5-hour video. She claims that it clears her name and proves her innocent. So even though I don't like Creepshow, I'll at least be fair with her video. Let's get started with part 1 of 16. I know that it's weird to put an update here at the beginning, but it kind of has to be here, so update. Update before the video even starts, update, yeah. Since part 1 has to deal in the very beginning with a claim that Creepshow made about lawyers, I want to show you this from Emily's Twitter before we go to part 1. That's why I'm putting this here. Okay, so here's a snippet from a letter Shannon's lawyer sent me. Quote, delete everything without a word or else letter. They only dedicated this tiny paragraph to the issue that happened with Anthony. He admits to having one encounter with me, and that was to cover his I was nodding in and out during the encounter, and keep in mind that drug commonly makes you forget things. It almost never causes people to completely hallucinate scenarios. I'm trying to be objective for the general audience, but I know what happened to me, that's all I can say. I'm continuing to look into past records for further evidence. Please bear with me. I can't promise as much meticulously picked apart detail as Shannon because I was the one being stalked, not the stalker. What she does show us, and this is why I'm showing this to you, what's this? Proof that I was not, in fact, completely forever sober when Shannon claimed I was. That an addict lied about their sobriety? I'm working with an official response video. I don't want it to be more than maybe 20 minutes max, and that's pushing it. I'm so done with this. Once it comes out, I'm done. I just want to move on and resume what I was doing before. So, of course, I'm going to tell you to keep an eye out for Emily's video, and now that you have that bit of proof, that actual evidence that Emily posted, let's get into part 1 of 16.
If you are seeing this video, it means one of two things has happened. Either one, my lawyers negotiated with Emily's lawyers and we reached a private settlement which resulted in some form of retraction, or two, I took Emily to court for defamation and came out the other side.
That's just not true according to Emily, so now we have 2 claims. But Emily did say she's giving an in-depth response, but for the pressing question, no, Shannon has not filed a lawsuit, but threatened if I did not delete every utterance of her name and brand, without any explanation, she'd sue me for defamation. So when we told her we would not be doing that, but would be willing to never utter her name or brand again, she released the video. Now, that's important, because that makes both of these untrue if what Emily is saying is true.
This video is being made for posterity to show I didn't do what I was accused of, and to show that what Emily has accused me and my husband of not only never happened to her, but could not have happened.
I don't like this, because the video doesn't do that, but it could be referring to one point, which is the point that I just showed you, and that's why I, of course, am re-recording this segment.
I have found plenty of evidence that shows that what she said happened never actually happened.
I have to pause right now because this is a common tactic that Creepshow uses. She puts just massive amounts of screenshots on the screen, expecting that no one will pause it and actually look at it. So let's just take a look at what she's showing here before we move on to part 2. We've got Emily MUA, and it's Emily standing either in like a bra or a bikini. A description: this is shaming. Like, there's no reason for this to be here. It's a picture of Emily as a child. It's my ex-boyfriend's angry ex-girlfriend's sketchbook. I mean, this stuff is random. This isn't any proof. So let's take a look at the main thing she pops up. This is Emily. I'm finally writing something about the girl that pretty much tormented me all through high school and after. An underclassman. She's a compulsive liar, ruined a lot of my relationships. She likes to flirt with my boyfriends behind my back, commonly known for telling them lies. This doesn't prove anything, and I don't remember her even referring to this ever again throughout the video. Let's continue. One more point. She says all of this was found after Emily made her video and has pulled the majority from her accounts. I don't believe any of that whatsoever.
Before I go any further, I want to quickly take the time to point out how Emily talked about her relationship with Anthony on her YouTube channel prior to making this video. In her My Ex-Girlfriend Destroyed My Art video, Emily states that she has only had 2 bad relationships in her entire life, that being with a mutual friend named Sean, who she stated cheated on her, and the 13-year-old she dated when she was 17.
That's a lot to unpack, but it's kind of just the most... It loses everybody right at the beginning. I don't care if Emily says she only had 2 bad relationships, because the point that Creepshow's making is, why didn't she name Anthony then? She must be lying, and she could have just chose not to ever name Anthony again due to how bad that relationship was. So Anthony's name not being on this list proves everything that she said is a lie. That's just insane. So what is the rest of part 1, which you could say is part 2, but she labeled it part 1. Basically, she gives some very crazy advanced details about Emily's life. She is showing us all that she has memorized every single point about Emily's life from the last, 10 or 15 years? She even goes to say that she found 20 people that'll call Emily a liar. She's got all of Emily's old posts. How did she not realize that this would prove that she had been stalking Emily? Because in my opinion, that's exactly what she wanted to do. A lot of you may not remember this, but Creepshow's name, Creepshow Art, was actually picked due to the fact that she created that channel to troll Emily. She was trying to make troll that Emily is a creep show. Emily Artful, Creepshow Art. So when her channel started to take off, that's when she tried to do more serious things. She was copying Emily and taking shots at Emily, and then started to cover drama, and her channel took off. And it's kind of strange because one thing that Emily shared on Twitter is someone who used to watch her original Storytime videos, and they talk about the moment that Creepshow switched to drama and her channel started to blow up.
The first time I personally felt attacked by Shannon. Again, all parasocial, I know. I also noticed how deflective she was on that statement. We, the old audience, complained we didn't like her new content, but because she was covering the Jessica Geneve situation, she used that to say we were horrible people because we didn't want her to expose a... It wasn't about if the deserved to be exposed or not. It was the fact that you were on our channel, a Storytime channel, and you are now playing activist and Chris Hansen. That is what we didn't like. That was not the gig of your channel. We didn't watch you because of the drama. But she twisted everything to make it look like, oh my god, look at these horrible people. That was the moment I snapped out of this parasocial relationship for the most part.
After Emily and Anthony broke up, Emily dated a couple other people who both Anthony and I know. There are specifically 2 people who she dated between when she and Anthony broke up, stopped talking, and when they reconnected after she got sober.
How do you know this? So you know everyone that she's ever dated, their names, who they are, and you've reached out to them?
Which I will be talking about now. Despite her saying she's friends with all her exes except Anthony, we have proof of her accusing a plethora of her past partners, and in some cases their current partners, of abuse as well.
So again, part 2 tries to further go down this point that if Emily didn't name people, those people must not have existed, or Emily was lying. It's just not true. A lot of people choose not to ever acknowledge really abusive and nasty people from their past, when they tell stories, when they go back in memories, it doesn't mean that they are required to name them or they're lying though.
Some of which can be found on her YouTube channel as recently as last year. The first person would be Sean. Emily made a story time about this man that is still live on her channel, claiming that he cheated on her with a crazy bitch who ended up sending her a fake cease and desist because she was so insecure about Emily.
Okay, now she's gonna play more of Emily's video, though. Why are you watching all of her videos about her life, memorizing all the details? You and Anthony sit around and watch Emily's videos together? You do know that that's his ex, right? But listen to this.
I received a message from a girl, let's call her Celine, and let me quickly paint a picture of her.
I'm gonna skip past everything Emily's saying just because I think it's a little redundant. We're just gonna try to listen for Creepshow stuff.
So she sent a letter even after
she made a story time about how his ex-girlfriend was, again, so crazy she faked a suicide attempt and said she was going to accuse him of rape, who he ended up getting back together with and marrying.
What does this have to do with anything? Can't you explain this to us? We don't know all this about Emily. We're not Emily experts like you.
And our relationship did not live in line with things that Emily heard.
I'm gonna leave me skipping through this so you can see how much of Emily's videos she pulls from.
Herself has stated she has done to her own boyfriends via social media. Carl allegedly got Emily into heroin, according to her. However, much like Anthony, their relationship did not last long, with them breaking up in August. Shortly after that, her relationship with heroin also ended. According to her DeviantArt page, by February 4th, 2013,
do you realize this DeviantArt page had barely any followers?
She was already 5 months sober from heroin, meaning she got clean from heroin in November 2012.
Oh my god, man. So you can see that a huge part of this video actually focuses on whether Anthony actually did that to Emily when he went in her window. Because remember, if Emily's not intoxicated that night, then most likely she consented. Got me? So she's trying to prove this over and over and over. And I just find it funny that Emily debunked it, and that's why I put it at the beginning of the video, with a single piece of paper showing that she was still using after the dates that Shannon somehow thinks that she wasn't. I just can't fathom how Shannon, why Shannon? You could have just apologized and came back.
Which is when she is now claiming she actually got sober from heroin, meaning she would be purposely giving a false date for no other reason. In her deleted I Dated a Sociopath video,
I think I've given you enough to make a huge point that will allow me to skip a big part of this video. When you first watch this, you say to yourself, Creepshow's insane. What is she thinking? How is she drawing these conclusions? Only once you go back and watch Creepshow's videos multiple times, and only after you've seen Emily's videos, do you finally understand that Creepshow isn't insane. She is so obsessed with Emily and every detail of her life that she legit believes that what she posted on her channel somehow exonerates her, because she's so hyper-focused on finding anything that will get her out of this, anything that will make them innocent, anything that'll flip this around, that she takes tiny inconsistencies in Emily's story and immediately calls it a lie, which I believe is desperation to find an out.
Emily did start to receive actual harassment in 2013 when she was 21. However, this was because of her time in the YouTube anime community as Emily Sugarfruit. For some reason, she confused her posting on this channel as her doing cam work, even though those are two separate things she did at completely different times.
No, you're lying again. I'm not even going to go into that. This will be enabled me to skip a big part of these, okay? You see how much we're about to skip. And I think you should go watch it, honestly, if you followed this, but this is literally her just shaming Emily. She focuses in on Emily doing cam work, which she's always been honest about. She focuses in and goes and literally downloads every one of these videos just shaming Emily and putting her down, and these incels, and puts them in just to throw this at Emily. That's all it's here for. It's just to further harass and torture Emily. It's just to further put her down. Part 6, we're gonna go up to part 6 because this is after the camming part. Is proving her own story.
Emily said she started getting Facebook friend requests from people she didn't know in 2014 when she started working with Anthony professionally, and said it was all Anthony and me.
And again,
I'm gonna skip ahead. Creepshow is really not representing what Emily said properly. I think it's purposeful, but who knows?
However, after she got clean in November of 2012, she and Anthony became Facebook friends themselves, meaning that he wouldn't have needed to make a fake account to get information on her the way she says. She debunks this claim.
This is just insane. What are you talking about? That's not the purpose of those accounts. They were to harass her, and that way when she blocks Anthony, Anthony has accounts there to continue watching her. Of course he would need to. I mean, that's just so lost. Really seems like something maybe Anthony told Creepshow that she's just believing
Herself without realizing this on Twitter by showing their Facebook messages from this time, where she directly tells him where she is working. At this time, I was dating someone else and not speaking to Anthony at all, meaning any jealous motivations I would have, according to Emily, would be gone. Emily says her Facebook was hacked.
That doesn't make
and
sense.
News from when she
I
was
don't know what this is. I'm not saying that what she's reading doesn't make sense. I'm saying that Creepshow making this point does not make sense. Let's skip ahead.
Lip Beauty Instagram account from a post of September 2015 of her artwork with lipstick swatches on it. I then went and I found the Yelp page for this establishment and found that there are no reviews naming Emily, mentioning—
Now this is too much. This is too much because Emily would have reported those reviews. Obviously, what are you talking about? I have to show this. Emily's talking about how these two people she used to know are obsessed with a Batman movie. This is Shannon's evidence debunking it. This never happened. Also, no, they like the Batman movies, but not that much. Another piece of evidence that just is so crazy. Reasons why this could have only happened in 2016. They make reference to her YouTube channel, which she started in 2016. We looked at this while I was live, and she plays a clip from Emily. I'm not going to play it right now. You can watch it, this video if you want, where Emily admits that she restarted her YouTube channel. And just to give you a little bit of weight toward what Creepshow considers evidence to make a point, last thing, here it is.
Continued to have what she labeled as romantic conversations with Anthony throughout 2016, showing messages between them from December 2016, which would have happened a month later for her story to be correct.
So you can prove that they didn't have a social media DM conversation because he was using your phone and you had the phone?
Only ever had a public Snapchat, which I used to link in the description of my videos. Neither of us have ever had a Snapchat under the name Kilgore Trout, and we can prove this through phone records, Apple ID, and any investigation into this would immediately—
Why would somebody do an investigation into this? The Kilgore Trout and those other things are just so minor to the story, but still, I hate to say this, he could have been doing this a million different ways. That what you're saying doesn't debunk it, is my point. Because he could have just used a different Apple ID. The next one is part 10, my problem with a big art YouTuber. Proof she exists. Now, here's the big thing in the comments section. Creepshow accidentally showed some emails, or maybe she did it on purpose, with this Amy character. The Amy person uses the name Amy to sign off on those emails. Creepshow has told people part of her story is that she changed Amy's name to protect the stalker, which doesn't make sense in the first place, though this shows that Creepshow is lying about the Amy character and has inconsistencies with her version of the Amy story. Part 13 is 2014. I'm not even going to touch that. History of false claims. So, I mean, again, it's just garbage. I mean, there's nothing here that would even affect the story. So what she says about Tipster is disgusting. She tries to say that because Tipster doesn't get huge views on all of his videos, that people don't like him and he's horrible and all this, which shows how hateful and vindictive Creepshow is at the core. Very bad idea to put that in this video. Why? Because it shows us that you have that hateful bone. A lot of people won't allow themselves to be that hateful, and unfortunately, you are showing that you do allow yourself to be that hateful. I just want to speak about Emily's videos very quickly. Creepshow Art did not work alone. This is where she takes her phone and literally proves that these are real things that have been saved in her phone for a very long period of time. She proves that regardless of whether it was Shannon or Anthony or even, Santa Claus, whoever it was, this really happened to Emily. This is a real story. So let's just think logically at the base level for a moment. If Shannon didn't do this, then why wouldn't she just very easily be able to prove her innocence? If she didn't do it and Anthony didn't do it, they would be able to. Also, if Shannon didn't do it, she would most likely she would care that Emily had this happen to her and treat Emily as a victim. So what does Shannon's video do? It treats Emily like she's a malicious liar. Only, in my opinion, a stalker would have such a negative opinion of Emily that once finding out Emily isn't lying, regardless if it's Creepshow or Anthony or even someone else, for you to treat her, who is a proven victim of this circumstance, that way, there's only a few people out there that I think would do that. There's only a few people in the world who would have that much knowledge of Emily, that much time, that would dedicate that much time learning Emily's entire life story. Ironically, be dating Emily's ex-boyfriend and then marry him, and then ironically have IP traces and other things happen, like one of the most damning pieces of evidence against Creepshow is one of the accounts that harassed Emily ended up being found in one of Shannon's videos from long ago. I covered this when this all happened. If you want to go watch that video, you can. So this is my response to Creepshow coming back. I'm going to try to end it now and finish this editing. Thank you for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, you're an OG. Hit subscribe, like, share, or don't do any of that. Leave me a comment. I appreciate all of you. Thank you very much. Join my channel, Rockalot and UNIRocktv, to support me, or just subscribe, and I'll see you soon. You all right, man? What you want to do? You want to do something? Go run around. I don't know.